Hello, my dear students. Today I'm going to be sharing a full mock exam, inshallah, and I'm going to deal with the questions, which are all based on the grammar points, functional language, and all the specifications mentioned in the assessment planner of the English exam, term 3, 23-24. This video will be useful, of course, for students of 10 advanced, 10 elite, 12 general, and 12 applied, because you all share the same curriculum and the same specifications of the exam. So first, let's start with how the exam is going to look like. And I believe I dealt with this before in the previous video, dealing with the grammar and functional points, functional language points. The writing is going to stay the same. As you know, part 1 is opinion, 5 marks. Part 2 is planning, 5 marks. Part 3 is the extended essay, 25 marks. Part 4 is going to be inference, justification, 5 marks. And the total will be the same, 40 marks. Of course, the time will stay the same, 1 hour and a half for the writing. For the reading, it's going to be 1 hour, but the only change is that we will have a reduced number of reading. Of reading questions. The questions are going to be 30 instead of 36, which is I think this is really good news. Every question here will be given 2 marks. So the total number is not the same as term 2, which I believe will give you more time to be able to read better, inshallah. As for the topics and vocabulary, and I also showed you this before, and I showed you how to use the vocabulary in order to practice and get ready for the exam. The 3 topics are environment, technology, and jobs, and these are the words which you will see exactly in the final exam. It means you will see them in the reading and the writing. Everywhere in the exam they will be used. It doesn't mean that these will be the only words that you will see. Of course, you may have even more difficult words in the exam. It is possible, but at least we know for sure that the ones right now that we can see right now are going to be seen for sure in the final exam. Okay. I'm again reminding you of the functional language points, which are comparing and contrasting, expressing regret, and describing habits, routines, tasks, and jobs. I just wanted to refer to them very quickly now because I believe they are so important. They will appear in the maze tests for sure. They may even test you in on your knowledge of these points, and they will also be used in the exam in the reading parts and probably in the writing. So let me show you, for example, how they can be used in a writing prompt. Because I looked at the exam of term 1 and 2, and for you and for other grades, I noticed that they usually link 2 topics together. So it is possible that you don't have for example, a writing prompt solely on environment. They might link environment technology, for example. Like here, I wrote an example here for you. If you notice here, I included the topic of technology in one of the bullet points to make sure that I'm linking environment to technology. And I also made sure that I'm using one of the functional language points, which is describing habits and daily routines here, by asking you to write about the daily practices of people which cause pollution. So in this way, I'm linking 2 different topics, and I'm also including the functional language. Okay. Here I wrote something about technology, and I also I have some sort of comparison here. When I say like compare something to something, this is the language of comparison. Okay. And here I have the jobs. Okay. Here I have the difference between jobs in the past and now. This is actually the writing prompt that grade 12 general students had last year in term 2, because in term 2 they had to write an essay, but in term 3 they had to do a story. So in term 2 they had the topic of jobs, and this was something similar to what they had. They were asked to write or compare between jobs in the past and jobs now. Okay, so this is also using the language of comparison, as you can see, and I also included the topic of technology here. So I'm linking jobs, technology, and the functional language. Okay. I repeat, I have also another set here. So I have a total of 6 writing prompts. And I need you to be aware of the fact that I'm not sure that any of these will be very similar to what will come in the final exam. Nobody can predict what exactly will be in the final exam. I'm using these just for you to practice only. So whatever comes up in the exam, please be aware of the fact that you have to deal with the 3 bullet points that you see in front of you, and do not just memorize an essay that you practiced or you wrote before the exam, okay? So these are some writing prompts. Feel free anytime like to take one of them and have a timer of 1 hour or even less, and see if you can finish in time. Do not feel like when you, on the day of the exam, all of a sudden you will learn how to write quickly. This will not happen. You have to practice at least 1 day, 2 days, or even before that. You have to be ready for the exam by practicing with a timer, I believe. You have to put yourself in the same pressure of the same pressure that you'll have on the exam day. So now we will start talking about the different questions. We'll deal with one by one. In the first session, you're going to have the writing plus the reading, the inference and justification. The time, as you said, is going to be 90 minutes, 1 hour and a half. First question is going to be the opinion question. Very easy question, inshallah. This is part 1 in the writing, sorry. And you are required to write at least 2 sentences about a certain question. I'm choosing here the one about the jobs. It doesn't mean that I expect this one to be in the exam. I'm just choosing one that I think is relevant to us because you are grade 12 and you're supposed to be or thinking about your future jobs now, okay? So the question saying, which job do you think is the best and why? Okay, I have to show you now the student rubric. This rubric, the word rubric means this is something that the marker uses in order to give you a mark. I'm choosing to show you the rubric for students who are going to take 5 out of 5, the full mark. In order to take a full mark, you need to answer the question thoroughly, completely, deal with all the parts of the questions, do not leave anything unattempted or not answered, include a logical reason, سبب منطقي, not any reason. So when you mention your opinion, you have to give me a logical reason, a reason that makes sense. Why I have my opinion. Include a good example to support my opinion, and write my ideas clearly, which means I should not have mistakes that will not or will cause the marker not to understand my answer, okay? I'm choosing to show you this because I always confirm that you have to write 3 things: opinion, reason, and example, and an example. The problem is that in the question itself, you don't have any mention of the example. And that's why many students probably don't know, or they feel like, okay, I'm not asked to write an example. Why should I? Actually, you should, because it's mentioned in the rubric. That's why I chose to show you the rubric today, to make sure that the word example is mentioned. So be sure to write an example to guarantee you will take a full mark, okay? Also, you have to use expressions to show your opinion. For example, I think, I believe, or in my opinion. Or if they ask you, for example, do you agree or disagree with something, you have to respond by saying, I agree, I partially agree, I disagree, or I partially disagree, or whatever. But you have to show or use a language item that shows that you know how to express your opinion. And also, of course, do not write much here. Save your time for the essay. Of course, nobody will be penalized for writing more than 2 sentences. Nobody will be punished, or nobody will be losing marks because they're writing so much. The only problem is that you are going to lose your time. That's it. Okay, so if you can write 2 sentences, it's fine. 3, 4, it's okay, but don't waste a lot of time on this, because remember, this is only 5 marks, and the biggest mark is going to be given to the essay. So that's why you have to focus on that one. Okay, so I'm going to show you now an example of how to deal with such a prompt. Okay, so here, one of the things also I forgot to tell you about the writing, as I told you, they will usually link between two topics, and they will include the functional language somehow. And also, the questions will require some sort of a choice. And we know for sure that they will not ask you for something very specific, because if I ask you, for example, to write about a very, very specific job, like suppose you don't have information about this, this can't happen. Usually it will be something general, something that everybody knows about, something they will be able to write about, because you're testing your ability to write English and not your information about a certain topic. Okay, so here I'm giving a choice of any job. Which job do you think is the best? So here I can choose any job. My advice to you, if you are in a situation where you have to choose a certain topic or a certain thing, I would choose the easy thing, not like, okay, so for example, I like a job, but I think this job is very difficult to write about. I would forget it. It's not the time now, like to express my feelings on the day of the exam. I need to get a good mark. So I would choose the easy thing that I can write about. For me, I chose the job of a teacher. I find like the job of a teacher, I think it might be easy for most of you, because every day you're dealing with teachers, you know some of the vocabulary. Also, the job of a doctor might be that, I think, again, easy, because you go to hospitals, so somehow many of you know the vocabulary. But again, it's totally up to you. If you are prepared with any other job, it is totally fine. But this is the general rule. Usually choose whatever you're able to write about. Okay, so here we are required to write 2 sentences. As you can see here, I use the language of opinion. I think the job of a teacher is the best one. And then I mentioned the word because I need to mention a reason. Okay. A teacher gets to help a lot of students, which makes the job rewarding in spite of working for too many hours. And then full stop. For example, now I'm mentioning the example, when a teacher receives a thank you message from a student, they usually forget about all the exhaustion. They will even want to work harder and harder, right? Okay, so here I mentioned I use 2 sentences exactly, and be very careful with this. When I say 2 sentences, I mean I need 2 sentences with 2 end marks. There are 3 end marks in English: a full stop, a question mark, and an exclamation mark. I don't think a question mark will be applicable here, because you're not going to write a question, you're actually responding. So we need 2 end marks. I believe most probably there will be 2 full stops, okay? Because some people think if they use the word because to link 2 clauses together, they think, okay, I have my 2 sentences. The marker has the right to say, actually, you have 1 sentence because you have 1 end mark. So be careful with this. 2 end marks, 2 full stops. Okay. So now we finish with this one. It should not take a lot of time from you, because as we said before, you need to focus more on the essay. Then we come to the next part, which is going to be the plan. And again, this is going to be given 5 marks. And I'm going to show you today the student rubric for students who are going to get a full mark, inshallah, 5 out of 5. In order to get 5 out of 5, you need to write a well-organized plan, as simple as this: organized, منظمة. Answer all the bullet points in detailed notes. Notice it's notes, not paragraphs, notes. ملاحظات in my plan. Include notes on good ideas to support my answers to the bullet points. Again, the bullet points. And write my ideas clearly, which means you should not have mistakes which will make it difficult for the marker to understand your ideas. Okay, so now I have here, usually they will give you 3 bullet points like this. They will say write about something, and then they will give you 3 bullet points. For all the grades, I mean like 10 advanced, 10 elite, and other grades like even lower than this, you are going to have the exam on paper. So it is totally fine to draw something if your teacher agreed with you before or trained you to maybe create some maps or draw circles or boxes or anything. that is totally fine if you agreed on this before the exam. So do whatever your teacher told you. For grade 12 general and 12 applied, you are going to have the exam online. So you are not going to have any access to any paper or anything. So the only choice for you is to type the plan. Okay. So normally what we do here, I'm going to show you one sample. The easiest way, in my opinion, for those who are going to do it online, okay, the easiest way is to take the exact same bullet points and make or change them into subheadings like these. Okay, so when you use the Swift SS, you usually have access to some tools if you're able to do this. If not, then I don't know, you maybe can just click enter and make sure you have a space between the subheading and the bullet points. It's fine. Okay, but the idea is like to take the same bullet point, okay, put it here, and under each one you'll have the details. You'll have like some other ideas that will support the subheading. Okay, again, it depends on your level of English. If your English is really good and you're able to rephrase, like here, for example, in the second one, instead of saying, why is this job better? I chose to like reasons why this job is better. Okay. If you're not able to do this and you would like to use the exact same thing, it's totally fine. Okay. You can simply copy. Okay. Copy the subheading, and under that, try to get as many details as possible. Some of you may find it easier to leave this part and go to the essay, start with the essay, because it's worth more marks, and that's why it deserves to spend more time on. If you feel you're comfortable with this, it's fine. Start with the essay and then go back to finish your plan. Some of my students prefer to do this because they think they will write the essay and then the plan will be only a summary of what they already wrote before. So it is fine. If you don't feel comfortable with this, some other people feel like planning is actually beneficial for them, so it is okay. But especially for grade 12, be very careful where you are typing, because sometimes they are confused. There will be a box for the planning, a box for the extended essay. Know where you are typing, okay? Otherwise, you may end up getting a 0 if you write the essay in the plan or the plan in the essay. Be careful with this, okay? How do I differentiate the plan from the essay, especially for those who are taking the exam online? Usually in the plan, you don't have any mention of the number of words. Can you see any number of words written here? Nothing, okay? But in the essay, usually you will see the number of the limit, the word limit written for you, okay? So here, as you can see, I wrote like 4 bullet points here, okay? Here I wrote 3. Here I wrote again 4. It's okay. As long as I feel I covered enough ideas, it is fine. I'm saying this because some of you will say, Miss, can I write only 1? 1 is not enough. Like it's not enough details. You will take a mark, but I don't think you will get a full mark. So the more details you write, the better for you. Okay. And again, if you feel like it's too difficult for you or you don't have time, so write what you can. And then later, if you have extra time at the end of the exam, you can go back and fix this. Remember that the extended essay is the most important part in the exam. Okay, this is one sample, so you can simply do like this. Just copy the 3 bullet points and put other bullet points under them. Or for those who have more advanced English, they can add something else, which is the introduction and the conclusion, which will be a very nice addition. So in the introduction, I'm planning to say why I prefer teaching, for example, and in the conclusion, I'm planning to say that teaching is the best, although there are disadvantages. Of course, I don't have to list the disadvantages here. I don't have to mention them, but I can refer to the fact that there are disadvantages because this is a conclusion. And then I can give advice to people in order to appreciate and respect teachers, for example, or any other type of conclusion, okay? This is a sample. Another sample is the same, but Instead of using the exact words and the bullet points, I kind of shortened them. So here I said body 1, and instead of saying the whole thing here, I just mentioned the word responsibilities, and I used it as a title. In body 2, I also rephrased it and made it shorter. I said comparison with another job, and then you have to mention here what kind of job. I should have mentioned, yeah, here it's not clear, so this is my mistake. I should have mentioned comparison, for example, with the medical field, okay, to make sure that it's clear, because when I read it now, I noticed like I don't have any mention of the medical field here. So it needs to be clear. The marker needs to be able to understand this. In body 3, I have technological tools, just like as a title. And I mentioned my bullet points again, and then the conclusion and so on. If you have any other ideas, any form of a plan is accepted as long as it is organized and it will give me a feeling it is a plan. The only thing that will not be accepted is that you write paragraphs, full paragraphs, or you write full descriptions, okay? This will not be accepted because it does not look like a plan. In this case, you might end up getting, I think, 1 out of 5. So be very careful. So for people who sometimes write the essay and repeat it in the plan, know that I think you're wasting your time because you might end up getting a 1 out of 5. So there is no need to do this. Okay. So here we finished the planning part. Now we can move to the extended essay. And I have to show you the rubric now. You need to know how you are getting the marks. Okay. Usually there are 5 areas here. Okay. The task completion, the structure, grammar, vocabulary, and spelling and punctuation together. Okay. For the task completion, it's mainly about dealing with the 3 bullet points and in my opinion, exceeding the word limit, because if you look at the number 4 means you are losing 1 mark here. Okay, it says here achieving the expected length. It's possible that you achieve the expected length. So if you're supposed to write 170 and you write 170 exactly, maybe it's not enough, because I believe 170 will not be enough to cover all the 3 bullet points in detail. Okay, so here it has to be a sophisticated response, something of high level, and you have to cover all the bullet points. And I advise you to even exceed the 170, maybe write 200 or a little more, but not too much, because we need you to save your time, and we need you to have extra time in order to proofreading. The structure is mainly about the use of paragraphs, writing an introduction, and organizing your ideas into paragraphs, and writing a conclusion, and also be aware of the style and audience. If it's formal, keep it formal, and so on. The grammar, as you know, a combination of using complex language. Try not to make mistakes, but the good news here is that you are allowed to have some minor mistakes. It is okay, but if you have or you make mistakes with the easy things, be sure you will lose some marks. For the vocabulary, you need to be able to use a range of technical and sophisticated high-level vocabulary for the specific topic of the task. You will have to use vocabulary related to the task, but I'm not asking you to force yourself to use specific type of vocabulary. You will find yourself using the vocabulary anyway, because you probably studied about them. So I think this part is not going to be a problem, inshallah. The spelling and the punctuation, be very careful with this. And one thing I need you to be aware of is that if you misspell an easy word, it's different from when you misspell a difficult word. Markers might forgive you. Maybe they will forgive you if you make a mistake with a very difficult word. But if you misspell a word like because, for example, be sure you will lose a mark, unless it's a typo, of course. If it's a typo, like if you make it one time and then the other time you spell correctly, that's fine. But if you have spelling mistakes in easy words, that's going to be a problem. 0 will be given to those who will have no response, like who write nothing, and I would never advise anyone to do this. write anything, because if you write anything, you will still get a mark. Or if the whole response is plagiarized, is copied from the internet or copied from another student, if they find like one of the essays being repeated many times, all the students are writing the same thing, then all of them may get a 0. So here for the essay, now I know that I'm writing in the essay. I'm saying this for the especially of students of 12 general and 12 applied, because you're writing the exam online. How do I know that I'm writing in the correct box? Usually you will see the limits, the word limit written here for you. Okay, so this will be a clue for me. Like I know, of course, on the day of the exam, some people are nervous, they don't know what they're doing. So that will be a clue for you. If you see the word limit, then I'm writing in the essay box. If I don't see it, then it's the plan. And of course, they will write the word plan for you. But because sometimes we're nervous, this might be another thing to help us. Okay? طيب. Many of you say, Miss, I don't know how to start. Okay? The key is keep things simple. If you keep them simple, it's going to be easy for you. You're not going to panic. You will not think a lot. You will start immediately because it's going to be easy and simple, and you will be organized. My idea of an introduction is usually like this. Usually they will say, write about something. For example, here, your favorite future job, or write about the environment, or write about an environmental problem. Okay. My idea is to usually start with 1 or 2 sentences about the main topic, and then simply list the 3 bullet points that you can write or you will write about. For those whose English is advanced and you're able to start with a hook, an interesting fact in the beginning, a quote, or any interesting thing that you can start with, or a question, for example, a rhetoric question, it is totally fine. If you're able to handle this, it is totally okay. And you know, you're not going to make any mistakes. It's okay. Go ahead and do this. For those whose English is not that good, or those who usually feel nervous on the day of the exam, I think this might be a good introduction for you. So if we are writing about our favorite future job, for example, just mention 1 thing or 2 things about this, and then simply list all the 3 bullet points. That's it. This is it in the introduction. And you need to have an introduction, as we said. So here is my sample introduction. Teaching has always been my passion. Since I was a child, as I always helped my siblings, my brothers and sisters, with their schoolwork. This is why I'm definitely choosing teaching as my favorite job. Okay. Some people would even start with this one. Yeah, there is no need to write all of this. You can even start with, my favorite job is the job of a teacher, and then immediately list the 3 bullet points. Or you can say, I'm definitely choosing to be a teacher. It is fine. Okay. As long as you're writing 1 sentence about the main topic, it is fine. And then, as simple as this, in this essay, I will highlight the responsibilities of the job. And then you see, I'm taking this from the 3 bullet points. Comma, because you're listing things, I will highlight the responsibility, in this essay, and then comma, I will highlight the responsibilities of the job, comma, and I will compare the job of a teacher to jobs in the medical field. This one is not written here. They're asking you to choose another job. So you chose the job of a teacher, and then you're going to choose another job to compare to. So they didn't mention the other job, so you have to mention it here as well. I will compare the job of a teacher to jobs in the medical field. And then moreover, the last one, moreover, يعني بالإضافة لذلك, I will discuss how the use of technology has made teaching much easier. Okay, so if you're able to rephrase some of the bullet points, it's totally fine. If you can't and you would like to copy them, if your level of English is so low, you just list the 3 bullet points. So you'll put this one, comma, this one, and before the last one, you'll write and then this. So any 3 bullet points that come in the exam can be dealt with in this way. In this essay, I will write about this, and this. Okay. So this will make the writing, inshallah, easier and more organized, in my opinion. Okay. So here I would like just to share some tips. Of course, as we know, do not copy or memorize any essays. If your teacher gave you an essay and you practiced this before, and I'm saying this again, especially for the grade 12 general, because your papers will be marked electronically. So it is so easy for the markers just to trace and see the source of your essay. If it's copied from the internet, they will find out and you will be given a 0. Memorizing is the same thing. It's the same thing. Avoid using complicated definitions because this will give the marker a feeling that you probably, again, memorized this or even cheated it or copied it from somewhere. So no need for complicated definitions, no need for specific number or statistics, because how can I go to the exam with a specific number, like the percentage, for example, of people who work in the medical field is this. Unless it's something general and everyone knows, it's okay. But other than this, I would not recommend, because your writing will sound very suspicious. Cover all the bullet points, as we always say, all of them. Otherwise, again, they will think that you memorized a different topic and you're trying to reproduce it on the day of the exam. One of the pieces of evidence that will prove your writing is original is covering all the bullet points. Start your paragraphs with topic sentences using the bullet points, and I will show you this now, inshallah. It's even easy to do this. Do not be hesitant, because I've seen this many times. Some students, they will start writing a paragraph and they say, oh no, it doesn't sound good. And then they will delete the whole thing. And then they will write again and delete the whole thing. And then they will end up panicking, and then they will lose the time and they will even panic more. It's going to be a disaster. Please, once you start, I suggest once you start, you decide on one idea or like a number of ideas, a certain plan in your head. Start, write, and then if you need to go back and change a few things, it's okay. But once you start, I don't recommend that you should go back and delete anything, except if you discover that you're writing about the wrong thing, or there's something you didn't read, or one of the bullet points you misunderstood, or anything. Other than this, please start and finish, okay? Do not write about a different topic, as I said, because some students keep telling me, Miss, I wrote like the same topic you taught me in the class, but okay, but it's not the same that you have in the final exam. Be very careful. Write a good conclusion with expressions such as finally, in conclusion, or in a summary, because I showed you in the rubric, they are looking for a conclusion and an introduction. So if you don't have this, you may lose marks. And finally, do not use AI. Do not use artificial intelligence to generate and memorize essays, because some of you might do this. They will give the 3 bullet points to AI, before the exam, and then they can memorize. It is, again, not a good idea. However, you can still use AI in a way that is good for you, which is maybe right now, take one of the writing prompts that I gave to you. Try to practice on your own, type a full essay, for example, and then you can take this essay and give it to AI, any AI tool that you feel comfortable with, and ask AI to check mistakes for you. And then when they check the mistakes, I think they will explain. It will be explained to you that you had these mistakes. So go and check where the mistakes are and why you made these mistakes, and try to learn from them. That's it. This is the only way that you can benefit from AI when you are practicing before the exam. Okay? So here is my favorite way of organizing an essay. My favorite number is usually 5 or more. Okay? So why 5? Because we have 3 bullet points in the exam. We're supposed to cover 3 bullet points. So normally we'd have an introduction like this one. As I said before, 1 sentence or 2 sentences about the main topic, and then the 3 bullet points summarized here. And then you take one by one for each paragraph. Notice here that bullet point 1, which was about the responsibilities of teachers, it's highlighted here. Like I need you to have a topic sentence in the beginning of paragraph, which will show the marker clearly that you are dealing with this bullet point. I'm covering your bullet point. You see it, it's in the beginning, very clear, and I'm using some keywords. It is possible to change some of the words, like you don't have to use the exact same words. If you have another word for the word responsibilities, like duties, for example, it is fine, as long as you're dealing with the same idea and it's clearly mentioned in the beginning. I prefer in the beginning. Some people can mention it at the end, it's fine, but I personally prefer in the beginning because it will be very easy for the markers. Because markers will be, you know, one of the few things they have to do in the beginning, that they will check if you covered the 3 bullet points or not. So if I have them clearly mentioned in the beginning, it will be so easy and for them to mark. And it's also so easy for you because you don't have to think a lot. All you have to do, take the same bullet points, put them in the beginning, and then complete. Teachers have a lot of responsibilities. For example, they do this, 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 this. So mention examples, explain. The other one, when compared to a job in the medical field, teaching seems so this is what they wanted, right? Okay. I will compare a job of a teacher to jobs in the medical field. When compared to a job in the medical field, teaching seems to be easier. Teaching seems to have more advantages, such as mention examples, explain, and here's your paragraph, finished. And then another one, the 3rd bullet point, the use of technology, how it has made teaching easier. So mention examples of technological tools and so on, you see? And then you have to write a conclusion. The conclusion, as we said before, could be that you mention again the main points if you want, or it could be a piece of advice or something. It is totally up to you. Okay, so I prefer this number for some people who have very advanced English. If they want like to have 2 paragraphs for the responsibilities, it's fine. If you can like find a way to, or you find a difference, 2 different ideas and you'd like to cover them, it is totally fine. Some others would say, Miss, can I link 2 paragraphs together? If you find any link, it's okay. Yeah, somehow in some topics you will find like it is possible to link 2 together. It is also okay. But as long as you have a sense of organization, all the bullet points are mentioned in the beginning and then you detail them, it is totally fine. Okay. So this is it for the writing part. I advise you to finish this in an hour or even less if you can. Now we come to the inference. We are still in the same session, the 1 hour and a half. You have the inference and justification question, and I'm going to show you the rubric for this question. The first question, the inference, is going to be given 2 marks, and the next one is going to be given 3 marks, the justification. Okay. In the inference, you're usually asked about something that is not mentioned in the text. For your grades, you're going to have a narrative text, a story. Okay. Usually for the 12 advanced, they have an information text. So in a story, they might ask you about something that will happen next, or the ending of the story, which is not mentioned, or something like that. In order to get a full mark, inshallah, 2 out of 2 here for the inference, you need to show that you fully understand the story. You fully understand the story. Use how can I show this? Use several clues from the text. Clues means you have some hints. يعني في دلالات في النص. Okay, you have some hints from the text. Use them accurately. They have to be correct in order to answer the question. Okay, how can I show that I'm using them accurately? If you answer the question correctly, just like that. So if you answer the question in the wrong way, or you mentioned something which is opposite of the correct thing, it means you're not using the clues accurately. You have to connect the clues from the text accurately in my answer, okay? So the only way to show that you fully understand the story is to give them the answer of the question that they want in a correct way, okay? How will I explain this in the next one? The justification, okay? In the next one, you have to tell them in detail, بالتفصيل, why my response is the best answer to the question. So here, if they ask you what's going to happen next, you'll say, okay, I think this is what's going to happen next, blah, 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 okay? Here, in the next one, you have to mention why you think this answer is correct, because I use these clues from the text 1, 2, 3, okay? So you have to explain in detail why my response is the best answer to the question, and you have to use your own language for this, and then provide accurate examples and not example. Examples, it means more than one, from the text to support my answer. I'm using or stressing the S here, the plural, because I've seen that if you use one example only, the marker may have the right to take away 1 mark from you. So be careful with this. Try to get more than one, okay? So my advice for you is usually read the inference question before you read the text in order to stay more focused. What does this mean? Let's say we're going to have this text. We're going to read the story now. The story is titled Amna's Vision. And the inference question is like this. All I care about is the inference question because it's only 2 questions. And the inference question is the most important one because this is what I will be looking for. What do you think the board decision will be? Now, I don't know what board we're talking about. I don't know what decision. I have no idea about the story, but I know that I'm going to go to the story to look for this. Because if I read without looking at the question, I will be reading with no purpose. I have nothing in my head. I don't know what I'm looking for. I'm just reading to try to understand. And one of the biggest mistakes that many of you sometimes make is that they keep saying, Miss, we don't understand. There's so many difficult words. We don't understand the story. Actually, you don't read to understand everything. You need to focus on this, only this, the question. What do you think the board decision will be? Just go there and find this. Find the clues that will lead to this. So if I read this question and on Swift Access, you will be able to see the question and the text at the same time, which is a good thing. So now we have this text, okay? What we need to do, I will also keep the question here in front of you. The best thing is like maybe pause the video, okay? Because I don't want to like wait, it will take a long time. You pause the video if you want to do it here with me, it's okay. If you don't want, you can take the PowerPoint and do it on your own later. So I will imagine you paused and now you read the story. Now we have to deal with the question. What do you think the board decision will be? This story is about a lady, a doctor. Her name is Amna, and she was about to create a new invention that will save the environment and reduce pollution, okay? But she wanted or she needs money in order to be able to finance her project. And she was supposed to be meeting with some board members, and they have to decide whether to give her the money or not. Okay, so if you look at the last line here, we know that they have made a decision, but we don't know what the decision is, and it's up to us to decide or try to infer or guess what this decision is going to be. I highlighted here some of the important lines, in my opinion, that will give me some clues about what decision it's going to be. In my opinion, I think they are going to accept the decision or accept the invention. They are going to finance it, okay? So why did I think this? Because when I looked throughout the text, I found that, of course, number one, it was very important for the inventor to have some money in order to finance her project. That's one thing. So she needed to do something in order to get the money. And we know in the beginning that those board members were more concerned with economic impacts. They care more about money. So what they care about, number one, their priority is money. They don't really care about environmental benefits. So what did Amna do? She tried to convince them that if they do nothing about the environment, the consequences of not doing anything will cost them even more money. So it means if they don't invest in her project, they will end up spending more money, okay? So this is the only way to convince them. So I think if she convinces them in this way, I think they should agree to the offer and they should be able to finance. So here is the way I answered. So this is the first one, the inference question, which is supposed to be given 2 marks. What do you think the board decision will be? Very clearly, I think the board will decide to give Dr. Amna approval to start working on her invention. This is the clear answer, okay? They will finance, and I added one idea which is not mentioned in the text, okay? They will finance the project and receive a percentage of the profits when the product is sold to big institutions. I use this because I feel like, you know, like they care a lot about money, so they need something to convince them even further to invest in the project. So I imagine that maybe this is something that will happen as long as this does not contradict or does not go against any of the ideas mentioned in the text, then this answer will be accepted, okay? So here I have to justify my answer, okay? This is the way I used to justify my answer. You can even make it shorter, it's up to you. And by the way, people can have different answers, but not very different. Yani if for example, a student says an answer and the other one is totally different, it depends. Like if your answer agrees with whatever was mentioned in the text and you can justify this, you have your own reason, it is fine. It will be accepted. Another one might have a slightly different answer and she can also give justification for her answer, then it's fine. But if you say something that is totally against things that were mentioned or clues that were mentioned in the text, then your answer will not be accepted. So be careful with this, okay? So it's not like we have one answer for everyone and everyone will be the same. It is okay to have slightly different answers and accept this from students. So here, I will say this. I think my answer is the best one because I have to explain why. In the story, you see these sentences, you can also use if you want or something similar. There is a reference to the fact that it was referred to that. Getting money was important to Amna. Here, I'm rephrasing what was mentioned. And this is very important. You cannot just copy all the words or copy, because we see some students in the exam, they just copy a whole paragraph. They copy the paragraph in the story and they think, okay, this is my justification. You as a marker, you have to find like the answer, it's embedded or you can see it in the paragraph. No, you actually have to use your own language to explain this. So here I said getting money was important. When I said was important, I was actually rephrasing this. Securing money was crucial. So important to Anna to be able to continue with her invention. This is mentioned in paragraph 8. If you're able to mention where, it's fine. If not, it's not really important, as she mentions that securing money was crucial, which is exactly the same idea that I mentioned here. I just rephrased it and I'm giving you some words from the text. There was also a hint that يعني في تلميح إنه the members of the board care about money from money more than anything else. This is mentioned in paragraph 2 where it says they are more worried, I use the word worried instead of concerned, about economic impacts than environmental benefits. Based on this, okay, so the one in the blue, the words that are in blue are words that I copied from the text, but the other words are my own words. I use my own language to rephrase. Based on this, the only way to convince them was to finance the invention. Was to confirm it will save money. She successfully did this, yes, when she said that it would cost everybody more money if they did nothing. As she said, the consequences of not doing anything will cost even more money. So I kind of rephrase this. It's also possible not to mention any words from the text. It's okay. But I prefer like to maybe take 1 or 2 words from the text. It's fine. But what is more important is to use your own language to rephrase what was mentioned in the text. It follows that I expect these 2 lines are just to explain the idea that I added here. Okay, it follows that I expect members of the board to try to make some profits by selling the products to some big institutions that may be interested in conservation activities, which means that they will do activities to save the environment. Okay, this last part is not really important, but I thought like, I will add it just to make sure that my answer is stronger. But you don't really have to like exceed and add more things. Usually you're supposed to answer the question clearly and that's it, okay? General tips here, just to remind you, do not copy the whole answer from the reading text. As I said, do not infer something that is already in the text. Yani do not, for example, say in the inference question, well, I expect they will be confused or we don't know like if whether they will agree. No, you have to mention something. What is not mentioned in the text is the decision. Give me the decision. It's not there, but you have to infer it. You have to guess it. Okay? Do not mention an idea that contradicts or goes against the text, of course, and finish the writing early to save 30 minutes for this part in order to be comfortable and to have enough time to do proofreading for everything. Okay, now we come to the second session, which is going to be the reading part. All of this will be multiple choice questions and the duration will be 60 minutes. Now, in term two, most students complained about the time. This is one thing. The number of questions was really big. So inshallah, I expect this term to be better because the questions will be reduced, as I told you. Okay. And the other thing, you can do some things before the exam in order to prepare in a better way. First, you have to study the grammar and functional language points. I covered these already in my previous video. So you can study that and also use the PowerPoint from the ministry in order to review, okay? Because you will see them everywhere, as I said, in the whole exam, in the reading, in the maze, in the reading, they may even affect your understanding of some points, by the way, so be careful. Study vocabulary related to the topics in your curriculum. So you study the list that I showed you in the beginning, and you also study any vocabulary related to the topic from your books, or even use, as I told you before, use ChatGPT or any other AI tools in order to create texts using the words in the same topic in order to practice. Read the questions one by one as you go along to save time. And I think I told you this in term two. And I still insist the questions, specifically the questions that will ask about specific details, they usually come in the same order of the paragraphs in the text. And I will show you one of the texts I will show you today, an example of this. So all you have to do, instead of reading the whole text first with no purpose, without like looking at the questions, you will save yourself a lot of time if you just look at question number one and then start reading. And while you are reading, you will find question 2, 3, 4, and so on. This will save a lot of time from you, okay? Learn words used for feelings, because I noticed that usually they have questions asking about feelings. At least one question will ask about feelings or changing moods through the story. So maybe learn words related to feelings. Learn synonyms, al-mutaradifat, words that mean the same thing. Why? Because questions are usually sentences that are taken from the texts. The questions are actually they are rephrased versions of the text. They are mentioning the same information in the text, but they are rephrasing. They're just using synonyms or other words. That's it. So if you're able to understand the synonyms, you will be fine. Most people who have good vocabulary will have no problem with the reading, inshallah. Okay. Some of the repeated questions I noticed were related to this. What was the mood? Mood يعني المزاج العام. What was the mood when something happened? What was the mood in the story? Happy, sad, joyful? What was it like? What is the mood of the story in paragraph? A certain paragraph 3 or 4. What do you think the mood is? Okay, so be very careful. Know if they're asking about the mood in the whole story or in a certain paragraph or in the beginning or at the end. How did the mood change throughout the story? Also the change, they will give you 2 different words and they will ask you from sad to joyful, for example, from tense to happy. So you have to be able to understand the whole story, okay? And then decide how the mood changed. How does the reader feel? Yeah, be careful about this. How does the reader feel? We're not asking you about the main character. We're asking you about yourself. When you read this paragraph, what do you feel? Why did the writer write this paragraph in this way? To make you feel what? Okay. How does the reader feel about something specific, a specific event at the start of the story? Be careful, at the start or at the end. Okay. A certain character was upset, متضايق, or concerned, worried, قلقان, because what? So what is the reason? So they will give you the feeling and they will say why. What is the best description of the main character? They can give you some adjectives and you have to think of a description for the main character based on your understanding of the character throughout the story. How did the main character change throughout the story? In the beginning, the character was like this, and then at the end, it was like this, or he was like this, which is another title for the text. So this is actually asking about the main idea or the main purpose of the text, or which title would be best for the whole text, like that, okay? So be careful with this. I've collected some words of feelings that I've seen in previous exams, but of course, this is not everything, okay? So be careful with these. يعني, I do remember there was a problem with this one, I think. Irritated and distressed, I think they were mentioned as two choices to one of the questions, but of course, because I could not see the exam, so I cannot يعني, tell what the problem was with this question. But you have to know that irritated and distressed, both of them mean that somebody is not feeling happy, of course, but there is a difference because this one, distressed, is much stronger. Yeah, when somebody is distressed, they are very, very sad. But irritated is not as strong as this word. So be careful with this. And of course, based on the story and the events in the story, you have to decide which one to choose. Okay? So in my opinion, if maybe you start learning words about feelings, these are not enough, of course. If you can maybe Google or use ChatGPT to give you words used for feelings, study them in groups, like feeling of anger, for example, feelings of happiness. If you're happy, like how do you describe people when they're happy? What are the words used for this, and so on? It will be also a good idea. Now we come to the first maze. The good news is that the number of questions in this section has been reduced to 4 instead of 5. This one looks like a speech. So the way to deal with this kind of question is to read the whole thing word by word, and then to test the options one by one to see which one makes sense. Like read the whole sentence. This is crucial here, very important. So let me read with you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to take a moment to share my experience with our recent environmental project. Managing this ambitious initiative has been both challenging and rewarding. First, our objective to reduce our carbon footprint by 20% in a year was met successfully. Despite the tight deadline and complex tasks, the results have been incredibly fulfilling. Be careful with this word, fulfilling. Fulfilling means rewarding, means I'm happy about the results, okay? Because this will affect my choice for the next one. Now I have a full stop. Be very careful with the punctuation. I have a full stop and then I have if. If I have known how rewarding, if I have known how is rewarding this would be, this does not make any sense. Number one, I have is and then I have be, two verbs. It doesn't make sense. Number two, this looks like a form of a question and I don't have a question. It is not a question. So this one cannot be chosen for, it cannot be chosen. So for sure, this one will be eliminated. Let's look at the next one. If I had known how rewarding this would be. This is how you should read the sentences. You take each option and you put it in the middle of the sentence and read the whole thing. If I had known how rewarding this would be, I would have prepared for. Does it make sense? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. This is an if sentence. As you can see here, this is an example of a third conditional because this one is about the past. Had known. So which means and the truth is I did not know. يعني لو كنت عرفت إنه كان هيكون مجزي الموضوع I would have prepared for كان حضرت. Okay, so both situations are in the past. This one is an imaginary situation in the past because I did not know about this and I did not prepare. Okay, so this one is the correct answer. Let's move on. Okay, I would advise you, if you can write like your answers on a piece of paper, maybe only the answers, no need like to copy the whole thing, but write your answers on a piece of paper. And then like once you finish the whole maze, you can read the whole text again with your answers in front of you. So to see if the whole thing makes sense to you or not. Because sometimes when you keep reading, you will discover that something will make you change your mind about a previous answer. Okay. And this is the whole idea of the maze. It has to be all together. Anyway, let's continue with number 2. If I had known how rewarding this would be, I would have prepared even more ambitious goals, or less ambitious goals, or much ambitious goals. I know the word fulfilling is something nice. I was happy about the results, so I should have prepared for even more ambitious goals. يعني لو كنت أعرف إنه النتيجة كانت هتكون ممتازة، كان حضرت أهداف أكثر طموحا. يعني because we could have achieved more. Okay, but less ambitious would be the opposite of what is happening before, and much ambitious does not make any sense. Grammatically, it is not even correct. I can say much more ambitious, but not much ambitious. Okay, so let's move on. Second, I encourage our team to keep up the excellent work. Your dedication and hard work are what made this achievement possible. We had done a lot of work after this project had started. Notice here that I have had done, past perfect. Usually a past perfect is used to compare two different events. One of them happened in previously, and then the other one happened right after. So we had done a lot of work after the project had started. يعني بعد ما المشروع اشتغل كنا عملنا شغل أكتر، ولا during the project starting أثناء ما المشروع بيشتغل، ولا before this project even started. يعني إحنا كنا اشتغلنا قبل ما المشروع يشتغل، كنا عملنا شغل كتير قبل ما المشروع يبدأ. Okay, it makes sense that it's this one. Why? Because you can see here, this one we are using a simple past tense, started, and we are comparing it to this one, had done, which is a previous event. يعني we had done a lot of work first. Okay, and then it's the project started. يعني قبل ما المشروع يبدأ كنا اشتغلنا أو يعني أنهينا بعض الأعمال. And the preparation was key to our success. Finally, I will forget what important of teamwork. Does it make any sense? What important? No. Finally, I will not forget the importance of teamwork. Or finally, I will not forget an importance. Okay, the only one that makes sense is this one, importance. I will not forget the importance, because this is the noun. I will not forget the importance of teamwork. As I told you before, my advice is like maybe keep your answers on a piece of paper or something, if you're allowed, of course, because maybe they will not allow you to do this, I'm not sure. And then read the whole thing again one more time before you go to the next one. Okay? Now we come to Maze 2. It's about a new job related to your theme. I chose to put it in the form of a conversation to make sure it's easier to use the functional language. So, Ahmed, I'm applying for a job in the tech field. It involves managing virtual environments and ensuring all software installations are seamless. That sounds fascinating. As a matter of fact, this is how you should do it. As a matter of fact, you have the right resources. It should be a great fit. Notice here that we have a comma and then another comma, and it doesn't make sense. Be careful. Again, punctuation can make a big difference. Or I can say nevertheless. طبعا as a matter of fact يعني في الحقيقة. Okay. Nevertheless على الرغم من ذلك. So it doesn't make sense because it should يعني contradict to something before. It doesn't make sense. Or provided that, and there's no comma here, provided that you have the right resources. يعني بشرط إنه provided that you have the right resources, it should be a great fit for you. So, provided that, of course. It should be a great fit for you. What's the company's vision? Their vision is to build a strong online community where people can share knowledge and collaborate on projects. Okay. Only if I was more involved in such communities earlier, or I wish I had been more involved in such communities earlier. Be careful with the word earlier because it refers to the past. Or if only were I more involved in such communities earlier. Now, if I have the word earlier and it seems that I'm regretting something in the past, so I need to go one step further in the past. Remember the rule of I wish, okay? I wish or if only, okay? Usually I would go one step further in the past. So if it was already in the past, I have to go to the past perfect. So I would say I wish I had been. يعني يا ليتني لو كنت أنا موجود أكتر في هذه المجتمعات. Okay? I wish I had been. Okay. I think you will have achieved a lot, or will you achieve a lot? Will you achieve is like a question, but do I have a question at the end of the sentence? No, I don't. You had been achieved a lot. Had been achieved is passive. يعني أنت تم تحقيقك. It doesn't make any sense. So this is future perfect tense. You will have achieved a lot by the time. Usually we'll have by with this type of tense. يعني before the time. By the time you get this job. Okay. Do you enjoy working virtually? I do, but I hardly ever get يعني نادرا أو يعني almost I don't I never get addicted to being online, or I usually get addicted to being online. It depends again on the next sentence, by the way. Or I sometimes get addicted to being online. If you keep reading, you'll find something here about I'd rather balance it with offline activities. So it doesn't seem that he is that type of a person that likes to be addicted online. And also from this one, number 5, you'll even, this will be clarified even more to you. So, but I hardly ever get addicted to being online. It can be no harmful just as, or harmful just as just, or just as harmful as other types of addiction. C is correct. It can be just as harmful as other types of addiction, which proves that this answer was correct when we said he doesn't get addicted to being online. Okay, so now both of them make sense together. I'd rather balance it with offline activities. Flexibility is a big plus. On the other hand, traditional jobs and then comma doesn't make sense. Or compared to, on the other hand, طبعا على النقيض الآخر, compared to بالمقارنة ب, compared to traditional jobs, this sounds much more flexible. ولا whereas traditional jobs يعني بينما, if I use whereas I need a full sentence. يعني whereas traditional jobs are flexible, for example, I need to have a full sentence with a verb. So because I don't have this, so here this one is the correct one. Compared to traditional jobs يعني بالمقارنة مع الوظائف التقليدية, this sounds more flexible. Absolutely, the flexibility and collaboration attract me the most. That's great to hear. The perfect match. It looks as it looks at if the perfect match. Be careful with the wording. It looks though the perfect match, or it looks as if it is the perfect match. Of course, it looks as if it is the perfect match. يعني يبدو كما لو أنها الوظيفة المناسبة لي. Okay? And then there is a sentence, يعني the beginning of the sentence, and then growth and collaboration. I do not like employers who value growth and collaboration. Is it possible for someone to say this? I don't like people who value growth and collaboration. I don't think so. Or I prefer, or employers do not value. Again, you're just saying the same thing. You're saying that you don't like these people. It doesn't make sense. or I'd rather all employers valued. Remember, this is mentioned in the grammar PowerPoints. When we mention or use the expression I'd rather, you usually use the verb in the past. I'd rather all employers valued، يعني أفضل لو كل الموظفين أو أصحاب العمل يقدروا التعاون والنمو. Okay, so usually we use the verb in the past. Notice here, this maze in term 2 had 10 questions. Now it will only have 8 questions, which is good. Okay, now I'm not going to do the full, the rest of the reading text, but I'm going to show you how to deal with the questions. As I told you before, they are in the same order. There is no need for you to simply start by reading the whole text. I would just go look at question number 1, try to, and then keep it in my mind, and then go read, start reading. When I start reading, I will find the answer. Once I find it, I will go to the next question and so on. But you have to read the whole text again, okay? So, for example, why did Fatma decide to change her career? I will keep this in mind. I will be reading, and while I'm reading, I'm looking for this. I'm reading to look or to find this answer. So, Fatma was about to finish her last year of medical residency when she faced the critical decision of choosing her future career path. Her parents were proud of her accomplishments. Remember, I'm looking for why she decided to change her career, and wanted her to continue in the medical profession, valuing the stability and prestigious offered. However, Fatma had developed a deep passion for the environment and dreamed of becoming an environmentalist. Okay, so this is it. This is something that will give me a clue here. Fatma had developed, remember that we are looking at this in paragraph 1. So once I find something in the options, which is a rephrased version of this, I will choose this one. Which is this? She always wanted to work in the field of environment. So this is the answer. If I continue with the next questions, ideally what I should be doing is that I should be reading. Okay, and while I'm reading, I'll find the answer for this one. So next, I should be reading question number 2. What did Fatma's mother initially, yani in the beginning, react? How did she react in the beginning to her decision? Okay, so I will try to find what the reaction of Fatma's mother was in the beginning. Okay, so what I will do is I will keep reading. Do not just keep, because some of you do this. Sometimes they will say, okay, I will go for the keywords. I will find the keywords and end of. So no, you have to read the whole thing because you need to understand. Because sometimes the answer can be taken from many different parts. So read the whole thing. So for example, the pressure from her parents and the uncertainty about her future often felt overwhelming. One evening, Fatma had a heart-to-heart conversation. Remember, I'm looking for the initial reaction with her mother. Now we'll come to it. Mom, I know you and Dad are proud of my achievements in medicine, but I really want to change careers. Fatma confessed. So far, nothing. Her mother's responded, Fatma, I should expect the reaction to be here now. Being a doctor is a very respectable profession. It offers job security and a good income. Okay, so now we start to see that the mother is not actually approving of this. Okay, so try to look at the options. She was supportive and encouraged her immediately. Do you think this is evident in this line? Of course not. She was worried about the stability and the amount of work in the new fields. Actually, there's something about the security, which is this, security and stability. They both mean the same thing. Okay, and if we continue, we'll find something about the amount of work. I understand, but the environment is something I'm deeply passionate about. This is Fatma. I know the job is stressful, but it's also incredibly rewarding. Fatma explained. Fatma, the workload in this field, here is the workload, which is the amount of work, can be too much. Are you sure you can handle this? Her mother asked with concern. And also the word concern will show me that she was worried, okay? So the correct answer, which is a rephrased version of the words in the text, is this one. She was worried about the stability and amount of work in the new field. So this is how I should be reading or dealing with the text. And some of you tried to do this, but the main problem was the vocabulary. Like they tried to go through the order. All the questions were in the same order, according to my students. They all confirmed this. But some of them, or many of them actually, found a problem with the vocabulary. The vocabulary was so advanced that they couldn't handle or they could not understand the meaning of the text. That's why we keep saying try to practice, try to learn vocabulary related to the same field before you go. And use this technique also because it can save a lot of time from you. Do not feel tempted to read the whole text before going to the questions. So if I keep going like this, again, you'll just find the keywords. Here we have the word regret, and then I wish it's the same thing, but you have to read the whole text. Do not feel tempted like to go to the keywords only separately. No, read, and while you're reading, you will see the questions on the right, which is a good thing on Swift Assess, inshallah. So it will make things easier for you. So you'll continue like this. In text 1, you'll usually have 5 questions instead of 6 in term 1. Okay. If you use this PowerPoint, you will find that I highlighted the keywords for you, and then you will see the answers. So inshallah, it will be easy for you. Okay. Number 5 again is about the mood throughout the story. For this type of question, you'll have to understand the whole story. That's why these kinds of questions will usually come at the end. So as I told you before, all the questions will be in the same order. While you're reading, you'll get the answers. While you're reading, you'll get the answers one by one. And then at the end, you will have some questions about main ideas or changing moods or something that will test your knowledge of or understanding of the whole story. Okay, same thing here. This one is going to be 10 questions. Last term, it was this reading passage was given 11 questions. Now there will be only 10. As you can see here, the questions again are in the same order. I kind of color coded them just to make sure you know the different pages and stuff. And I highlighted the keywords for you. Okay. So there's no need for me like to go through one by one. You will do this on your own. Okay. And of course, the last one, the last reading passage will be the same. Yeah, you will have 2 passages repeated in the exam, but the last one will test your ability to find the main ideas in the text, as you can see here. Okay. So this will be everything for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Write any question in the comment section in the YouTube channel or even in the Telegram group. Here is the link for my channel. Please subscribe if you like my channel, and if you are also interested in my English IMSAT practice, feel free to join the group, and I will be more than happy to respond to your questions. Thank you so much, and best of luck, inshallah.